I'm going to actually be very curious as to what people's opinions are of this series because I didn't see anything about this series until essentially like last week, I think, or like the last 2 weeks. I never saw anything before it, like no advertisement. And I guess it's a manga that won like a contest, so it's one shot won like a one shot contest, so they ended up serializing it. And I liked the concept of it when it was just like when I recently found out about like its upcoming release and like the premise, and so I decided okay I was gonna check it out, and I actually liked the first chapter. I thought it was pretty cool. I liked the weird nature of it as well as kind of the concept and the even the opening of it when the girl Grimm is talking to the main character. I think his name is Velo or something. He, she talks about like, has he ever seen a dragon? He's saying, no, they're not real. They only exist in fairy tales. When in reality of this world, it's just that they've been extinct for so long that people just don't believe that they were ever real. And the the overall concept of the story is like this crazy like extermination of monstrous threats to humans is really badass. I'm very curious as to what kind of like series this will make it out to be. Like it has a very Bloodborne kind of feel to it, and I definitely am hyped for that. But done in the obvious shonen style. I like the main character. I like the female lead as well. She's a pretty cool, Grim. I'm curious about her because like it seemed for the most part, at least from chapter one, that the characters in this world, like I don't know if they're gonna have any kind of powers or is this gonna be based on weapons and skill. But the one girl, Grim, at one point in the chapter, she's like a small girl, but then later she's like has like an adult form. Like it is it some kind of magic or like curse? Because they mentioned witches are real, and like there's this weird tool that she has where like it like smells, it like looks for scents and detects things, and that like but it looks like a dog's nose coming out of something. So it's like there's definitely a weird supernatural kind of item and tools that they have, and I'm just really curious as to like how it's gonna tie into everything because the main character doesn't have anything in the beginning, and he's gonna go become a hunter, so he hasn't gotten to any point where we're gonna like go to learn about the powers or anything with their abilities. So that's still on the table. Like the main chick, it looks like she has something if she's got some form of shape shifting ability or however her adult form and like young child form thing works. But either way, the only other thing in the chapter, which is really cool, I'll mention near the end. It was like a little hinted at, and I am hyped to see because I do like the main character having a gun. I think the gun is really cool as well as it has like a pretty neat design to it. Um, but the chapter begins, and there's a whole point about how there's a werewolf on the loose of their general area. Like there's just a werewolf somewhere around here. They don't know what's going on, and that it's hunting people. And it gives us like a history thing for it. It says werewolves. We get like a little information dump on how werewolves affect their world, and how they don't know if it was like a plague or a hex from a witch. Obviously mentioning that witches are a thing in the world, or it was something that is wrath from God. And then it's just kind of like laying out the legend of what this is, giving us a little bit of lore information, and in there that when the problem with werewolves is when a werewolf tastes human flesh, it will only hunt humans until it's killed essentially. So it is really cool, and they're definitely already, at least at the moment, laying it out like these monsters are all just outright problematic, that they're just monsters, and it's not like there's anything kind of crazier. Maybe eventually we'll run into some like monsters that are more peaceful, and it has like some kind of crazier setup going on. But for now, we just have the dude just talking to the mayor. The mayor wants to get the werewolf taken care of. I like the mayor dude. He looks pretty cool. He looks like Santa Claus, actually, now that I think about it, with like the raccoon hat. And he's like talking to him. He sold his house and sold all his sheep so he could pay for a hunter to come get rid of the werewolf in their village. And like they're talking to him because it's like otherwise they have to leave. So he's saying if this doesn't work. We have to leave anyway. So I'm gonna take the brunt force of this and deal and deal with this the best I can. Like this is one good mayor right here. This is the perfect mayor to have because he's gonna do everything he can for the people. And 1 week later shows up, and then we have Grim, who I'm guessing like in the world she has to be like 3 feet tall. I'm just guessing in this form. I'm very curious as to what the whole situation with what the effects is for her character like exactly is, because it's probably something I'm guessing like a hex or something. So it's probably going to lead to witches, or maybe it has something to do with maybe buffs in their world work like powers. Who knows on how exactly their whole system works, but she seems like a pretty fun character. She seems like she's kind of chill most of the time, but very serious. Wants to do her job. Wants to get things done. And Velu is pretty much just following her around and helping her. And she's giving him information just about how werewolves work. And once they get to the point where they get to this old lady's house, she brings out this thing of like a hound's muzzle, and it looks like it's like a part to a gun that has it's just like a dog's head on it, but it speaks as well, and it just smells things. So it's definitely a world that has weird supernatural kind of like tools, which is cool. I definitely am down for that. If we get like a series where it's like humans have like just general kind of like super abilities, but like everything depends on the tools they have, that's gonna be really cool, because at that point it's just what can you get your hands on, what can you create, and how can you like how smart are you with it. I think that would be pretty fun, especially against crazy monsters and whatnot. I do hope if this series survives and they get to a point where they want to have a dragon, because they say that dragons are extinct, but they could always rule out there's like a couple dragons somewhere out in the world, or like there's one dragon left or something kind of like storyline. But I would like to see one in this world, because this is like this world is already doing like a really cool thing with the werewolf design. Like it has werewolves, but it's like a really weird kind of eldritch-ish kind of version. So I wonder what they would do with like other monsters. Are there going to be monsters that are just kind of like the general versions of them? Like if it's a goblin, it's going to look like a plain goblin? Or are they all going to be a little bit more twisted and horrific? Because I was expecting it to be more like a normal werewolf. This was not a normal werewolf. They get to this old lady's house, and the old lady is saying that it's the mayor. And there was a part before that, and I was kind of worried about like the idea of the mayor being in any way involved in a negative way, because I like the mayor. And when the lady's like, "Oh, it was the mayor, he's the werewolf," I was like, "Oh no, damn it!" I was completely bought into the mayor. And the thing that confused me, I didn't get to any of the parts that kind of like is them doing investigation work. I thought of like if he was the werewolf, why would he call a hunter? I didn't think that was. I thought that just didn't make any sense. Because at first I was like, well, it's like selling his house. There's a reason why he has to kind of leave if, after everything happened. That would make sense. Give him kind of like an alibi of leaving. But what would be the point of bringing the hunter over that could potentially kill the werewolf? So it's like that didn't really make sense. And after that, there's like some actual investigative work, because she's like saying how he escaped through the window. But again, it didn't make sense through the first part, and they're saying like, well, how would if he even fit through the window, and the spider webs that are around the window are still there? So it would have been pretty much impossible for him to actually do that, and the lady was lying. And that's when the old lady is revealed to be the werewolf, and Grim takes up her adult form, gets in this big, thick actual design. Very nice. Definitely give it a strong thumbs up of a passing mark. Cool and good and well designed. I like her character so far. Especially her suitcase full of tools, I think is actually really cool. And she's not worried at all about this werewolf. She pulls out this other tool, and it's like a pocket chimney. It just looks like just like a pipe, and makes like a giant smoke screen, and they just escape out of there. Pretty much like get out of the area. And man, freaking Velu's like starting weapons are cool. And when I said it like was Bloodborne, I just like the idea of like the monsters and then him starting specifically with a gun and a one-handed ish melee weapon. And his axe is actually really cool. I'm very happy that the mangaka gave his weapons like slight unique traits to like their design to make them stand out so they do feel more than just more than just kind of like a weapons that just exist, like an axe and a gun, where at least these are identifiably designed to belong to this main character, because now he's gonna have this axe clearly. But I was worried when Grim got eaten, because I thought she was gonna do some badass moves to kind of deal with the werewolf, but she gets caught shortly after some back and forth between her and Velu. But unfortunately, Grim does get caught by the werewolf and then eaten. And when we see her get eaten by the werewolf, like, that's what I mean. Like, that's not a regular werewolf. That's like a legit, like, bloodborne nightmare werewolf, where it's got like this weird twisted mouth and extra limbs. It sits like a freaking gremlin, but just completely consumes her. And before it's able to consume Velu, because she's talking about like eating the mayor and stuff, I was happy that it actually turned into more of like a revenge for the mayor as well. Because I liked the mayor. I thought he was a really nice guy, and I was worried for a second if he was involved in any of the bad guy aspects of what's going on. But no, he was a good guy, and unfortunately he didn't make it out of this scenario before the hunter came down and was able to deal with him. And there was a good chunk that went to Velu as well. And when I mentioned there's something about his other weapon, I'm guessing his gun is just going to be cool and useful because it's a gun. But the axe, there's got to be some special trait to it, because there was emphasis on the axe itself when Velu like jumped up to slash it. It's got a little bit of unique design with those arrows on it. And when Grim was talking about what he did, she emphasizes a little bit of kind of insight on that. She's like, there's this, the whole line that you can tell points to something more important. She's like, don't tell me that axes, and then question mark. You know that means that, oh, there's something about this that's going to be way more important later on. But the rest of it is like her getting out of there, leaving a like bomb setup trap in its gut, and then they have a cool walk away from explosion scene. Bale looks like he's actually just trying to escape, but Grim has the whole walk away from explosion trope down. Like, she's got it mastered. And then we get the extension to Velo, that if he wants to be a hunter or not, and that's where this story is going to begin. I'm very curious as to where this is going to go. I've heard that there's like a curse around people who win this award that their series don't make it. I'm hoping that this series makes these. I like this setup already. I like the art. I like the characters that we have right now with Velo and Grim. I think both of them are pretty cool. I like the fact the main character is using like a really odd weapon combo. I think that's pretty cool. Gun and like a one-handed axe. And especially we find out that there's some form of extra thing about the axe, maybe like the material it's made out of or something. But other than that, tell me your thoughts about this series and what your thoughts are about this so far are. The Hunters Guild Red Hood, and with the Hunters Guilds, and then this version being Red Hood, is there going to be spinoffs onto other characters? Like, what is their plan with this series? Is maybe that's like how the setup's going to be? Could be one that does multiple spinoffs that all connected to one story. That'd be really cool. And you can have Hunters Guild and then like another like character group that we meet at some point in the series. Who knows? It could just be like a cool title in there. Kind of like for like the easy example for Shonen Jump is like how you have both My Hero and My Hero Vigilantes like running at the same time. You can do something like that with this series too, which would be really cool, and I think would be fun if it gets to the point where it's capable of doing that. I think that'd be really neat. I think other than that though, comment below, thumbs up the video, friendly like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. But on that, appreciate it. Subscribe. Thank you all for listening. Bye.